Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan. Today, we have our author, Zainabu, here in the studio. And if this is your first time watching this show is about helping people write their book, helping people through the journey of getting their book published. Authors are human beings, just like you and me. And what we do is we encourage people to be able to get their book out there and to be able to help everyone know how to share their information. If you have a passion to write, this is the right show for you. So, Zainabu, thank you so much for being here today and for sharing your information to the general public about how did you get to be able to write your book. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what made you write books.
Well, first and foremost, Dr. Dan, I just want to say thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be on the show and interview with you today. What made me wanted to write this book? For me, I've always had a passion to want to inspire people. And from the time I was younger, I felt like there was something in me that there's some information that I have in me to share to the world. So for me, in writing this book, that's my way to be able to get that information out there to the person I may not be able to reach as we are sitting face to face. So this is a way to reach those individuals with my message.
Excellent. And did you just wake up one day and decide, I want to be writing? Or did you feel that you get inspired by other authors who told you to say, you know what, Zainabu, how about you starting to write a book? Or how about you putting all your ideas and all your encouragement and all your inspirational messages to put into a book?
Well, for me, no. To answer your question, I didn't just wake up one day and say I wanted to write a book. In the process of thinking about what I wanted to do, it wasn't something that I just woke up one day and say I wanted to do. As I said, when I was younger, I did have a passion. When I actually started writing, I started writing with poetry. So as I got older, I started venturing into wanting to just write poetry and said maybe I can put this information into a book form. And yes, I did have others in my life, not more so mainly authors that inspire me too, but other mentors that I have in me within my circle that were inspire me in their own ways. And of course, through that, I was able to see my true gift and talent as well through them. So my writing, people really didn't know that I was a writer because it wasn't something that I really shared. Mm-hmm. So I was the only one who knew that I'm a writer and it's in me. But through the process of growing, reading other writers' work, so of course, with that has also helped me to be inspired through them, as well as my mentors, and being able to bring my message to life as well.
Interesting. Now, did you have one specific author that inspired you more than the others, or were they just providing you with the same message or giving you the same inspiration?
An author that I would say that inspired me the most is Jim Rohn. Okay. Unfortunately, he's no longer alive. He passed a few years ago. Mm-hmm. So for me, his teaching were, they hit to the point. They were very simple, just as my book is. So for me, he was someone that I really was inspired by. It wasn't a big hoopla about what he did. He was straight to the point. And also being the fact that a lot of his teachings, a lot of his writings were more so also spiritual based. Mm-hmm. So he was someone that I look up to. Okay, well, if he can get his message out there, and he focused on spiritual writing more so and motivational writing. So he was someone that I looked up to. If I would say an author that inspired me the most, I would say it's Jim Rohn.
Excellent. Okay. Now, I am sure that a lot of people are just wondering, how do you manage your schedule to be able to sit down every single night and to decide to write instead of like watching TV or doing whatever, partying like 90% of the population? What would you say that made you do what you did to be able to accomplish this goal?
Woo, well, that is a tough question. Yes. And honestly, there were times when I rather, almost allow myself to do that, as you said, to watch TV rather than put in this book and write it, because there were points where I'm like, okay, well, what if I write this book, no one reads it? What if I write this book, no one likes it? What if the message that I want to get out, no one is really paying attention to that message? So there were times where I was tempted to just dismiss the whole idea. But again, there was also a part of me that said, there is something that you have. There's a message that you have. So if you want to reach people, if you don't write this book, how will someone be able to hear your message? How will someone be able to be changed by your message? So for me, it was that motivation in myself, my self-talk more so, that helped me, yes, that helped me to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to watch TV. I'm going to focus on this and put the writing to work. And again, I brought it to life. So it was some challenges, but I was able to work through those challenges and bring the book to life.
Now, I'm sure that a lot of aspiring authors out there have brilliant ideas about what they want to write about, but they do not know how to structure it properly. Now, what would be your recommendation, Zainabu, on how did you structure your book to be able to get the message through and allowing the book to have a very easy to read process?
Okay. Well, for me, one recommendation that I would say, first and foremost, before even writing the book out itself or whatever it is that you're doing, you want to be able to have your books in chapters. So instead of even writing, you have to make up in your mind, what chapters do you want to come first? How do you want to organize those chapters? How long do you want those chapters to be? Before even writing out the book, you may want to set an outline. Okay, in this chapter, I'm going to talk about discipline. In this chapter, I'm going to talk about focus. However you're organizing your book, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you have that in place first before writing. Have those chapters before actually going into the meat of the information of that book. So for me, that's what I did. I had what I want each chapters to be, and then from there, I said, okay, well, as you said, there are a lot of motivational books out there, but I wanted something that will grasp the attention of someone. It's very simple, very easy, and that's what I did with my book.
Excellent. Okay. Now, what other recommendation would you give to the aspiring authors out there about how did you fight writer's block? I mean, I'm sure that when you created your outline or the structure, I would say the skeleton of the book, you probably have gone through like, okay, what am I going to write in this chapter? What I'm going to do to be able to give a clear message? How did you go across this cross this writer's block? I mean, what did you do to be able to kind of like have a constant amount of information to come in? Did you do like any further research before you started to write or after the outline? How was the order?
For me, I would say there were a lot of times when I had a writer's blocks. But in the process of writing the book, one of the things that I use, as I mentioned earlier, wanting to outline your chapters first, in my daily life, I started becoming focused to maybe something about discipline. So I would say maybe that week or that day, there was something that I needed to do that allowed me to discipline myself. There was something that I needed to do that allowed me to apply focus. So within those times, I said, okay, I'm experiencing this situation today. This can be something that I can write about in a chapter of discipline, or this can be something I can write about in a chapter of focus. So in those times when almost having writer's block, I use my daily experiences to be able to keep me away from being too long in writer's blocks, and use those experiences and actually transform them into the book.
Do you do something else to kind of like, after you have faced the writer's block, do you try to go for a jog or do something totally different, or you just face near the screen, the computer screen, and try to come up with new ideas?
No, I would definitely not recommend, if you're having writer's block, I don't want to say just focus on trying to come up with the new information, because more than likely you're not going to be able to. So what I would recommend, maybe listen to your favorite song, or call someone and have a different totally conversation that has to do anything with your book, or as you say in your case, go out and jog. Whatever you need to do to be able to relieve some
Keep
of
your
that
mind at
tension.
rest. Yes.
Exactly. Do what you have to do, but not focusing on anything on what you're writing about, because more than likely you're not going to be able to really bring out the information the way you want to. So I would say listen to something, a song, or watch a movie that's going to relax you. Don't watch something that's going to keep your mind racing either. Watch something that's going to relax you a little bit, and that'll help you to come back. And as you're doing that, create more ideas in your head to bring back to the book.
Does it take, I mean, how long does the writer's block last for? Especially in your case, would you say it was like 1 day, 2 days, a week?
For me, it depends really what I'm doing that particular week or what I'm going through that day. Maybe I may have a situation where I wasn't feeling too well or not feeling too motivated. So it all depends. I don't think there's a specific, I believe it's different for everyone. There are days where it may just be, I don't know, one day for me, or sometimes maybe a few hours.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're going to take a very short break with a message of the universe, and we will be right back with you. Message from the universe. When new souls become old souls, you can always tell an old soul by how indifferent they are to setbacks, or at least to what others would call setbacks. Almost like nothing happened. Crazy like an old soul, the universe. My thought would be that old souls have experienced everything in past and present lives. When you're lucky enough to inherit an old soul, you feel and interpret things differently from those who haven't experienced anything, spiritually that is. An old soul will make you feel like no challenges is hard enough for you to not overcome. Anything that comes your way, either it being very difficult in nature, would be just another step closer to where you want to be. Old souls welcome and embrace hurdles in life, accept what comes their way and appreciate everything they already have. They do not complain, point fingers at anyone for their lack of success or failure, talk bad about others behind their back, whine because they had their feeling hurt or whatever else they may be. Old souls have already experienced all of that, so facing it again in this new life isn't as much as a big deal to them. They know how to work with what they have and learn to not let anything bother them, either it being today or tomorrow or the next life. Learn that when you deal with people that constantly brings in negativity into your own life or even yours, it is not necessarily their fault. They're new souls. They haven't experienced much of anything, and all of this negativity is a way for that new soul to handle a new situation that has never yet crossed their path. Eventually, after amassing lots of experience in this present life, that new soul will eventually become an old one when it reincarnates into a new physical body in the next life. Even though consciousness remains despite of the death of the physical body, the existing soul navigates throughout the universe until it finds its new resting place. Some souls never experience that privilege of having another chance in life or another opportunity to complete their mission. The power from above has the last word on what mission is meant to be completed and which one isn't. Can you imagine the amount of work is needed to sort out that what mission has meaning and which doesn't? Talk about massive amount of responsibilities. I can just imagine the souls going to God and asking, "Yo, God, I've been here for 2,200 years, and you asked me to be patient. But come on, my patience has limits. When will you allow me to visit another physical body on earth so I can finish my previous mission?" Just imagine 7 billion souls asking the same question. What God can do? I guess it all comes down to priorities. We're all meant to complete whatever mission we were meant to finish, and depending on how our mission can change the world for the better, God will decide and will prioritize among the billions of requests from souls navigating through our vast universe. So if you think you have a lot of tasks to complete, just imagine what God is going through. Now, if you want to learn more about the universe, be sure to watch the Happiness Journey right here on MCM. Welcome back to the Happiness Journey. Again, we're here with Zainabu, our author for today, and we're back in asking about your journey to be able to get your book published. As you know, a lot of authors out there who are maybe like just writing their first book, and they're experiencing writer's block. They're experiencing like I would say anything that has to do with sitting down in front of the computer, writing, either even though they have passion for writing or they have determination to get the book out there, but sometimes they cannot get it out. They feel that they're lost. And also it's kind of a very lonely journey. Wouldn't you say that as well? Did you tell everyone that you were going to start to write your book, or did you just tell them after the book was published? What was your process?
For me, there were some people who knew about writing my book, but also because for me, but within the time the book was actually completed, when I was given the contract to the point when it was actually published, there was a long lapse of time. So I was telling people I wrote this book. They've given me a contract for it. It's my first book and it's amazing. I was excited. But yet, from that time that contract was given to me, to, like as I mentioned, from the time the book was published, I'm sure people were probably wondering, well, is she really telling the truth?
Yes.
Did this really happen? Did she really write this book? So there were a few people, friends mainly, who knew about my writing. Not, I wouldn't say family, but more so a few friends who knew about it that I share the information with. So it was more of a secret, I would say, until probably some people finally saw the final product of it.
Were you afraid that they were going to criticize you about you having a dream and it not coming to reality? I mean, were you, what was your fear not to share this very exciting information to all the people that you love, that are a member of your family, friends, and so on and so forth? I mean, what stopped you?
For me, I would say there was a bit of a fear because sometimes I believe we can be our own worst critics. So
Agreed.
even though I knew for I've written information that people can certainly use, but there was that part of me, as I mentioned earlier, what if people don't like what I'm saying? Or what if the information won't be useful to them? So there was almost sometimes that inkling when you want to say, okay, do I just close it? No one's really going to pay attention. Just forget about it. But I just kept, again, encouraging myself to say, this is valuable information. This is information people need to know, and kept with it. But I know there were times people certainly doubted whether I really have written this book or not. So.
Would you say this is a lonely journey?
I would certainly say it is a lonely journey because people who may not have the same talents, who may not have the same giftings. And for me, within the time when I was writing the book, there wasn't anyone else within my circle who was an author.
Okay.
And believe it or not, now I have about maybe 5 or 6 people within my circle who are also authors.
Excellent.
But at the time, it was a lonely moment because at that time, I was the only one within my circle who was talking about writing a book and publishing a book. So yes, it was lonely. There wasn't really something you can relate to them. We had things that we relate to, but it wasn't when it comes to the aspect of writing a book and being an author. So certainly can be lonely.
So you would say that your best friend was your laptop?
Basically.
Okay,
Yes.
at least we have that clear. That was
Yes.
my best friend as well for
Yes.
many, many years.
Yes.
Now, through this journey of writing your book, did you, once the book was actually completed, did you get the help of an editor, of a design, in-book designer? I mean, did you decide about the cover? What was the process afterward? Because of course, writing is just the tip of the iceberg.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, everything, and as you know, below the iceberg, this is where the bigger part is.
Exactly.
So, what would you recommend to people when it comes to getting their book cover done, getting the editing done, especially if you're not like, you know, English is not your native language,
Right.
or
Right.
if you do not know how to write properly, you would need to have an editor for that. What was your process afterwards?
My manuscript to my publisher, so they were the ones who did all the editing. So it all depends what route you choose, whether you want to do self-publishing.
Okay.
So usually I hear when people do self-publishing, they have to go through the process of doing all of that. But for me, luckily, I would say I didn't have to do that because, to be honest, I am the least person who can do anything graphic or anything of
Okay.
the sort. So my publisher were the ones who did the editing. Yes, I did have a say as far as what I wanted on the cover. I gave them an idea, and they put that idea into life and make it for what it is. So, but they did all the editing. Of course, I did had a little bit of part of it as well. Once they did the editing part, I approve it. But I would say mostly they were the ones who took care of all of that.
I'm sure that a lot of viewers are wondering, where can they get this book?
The book itself, the title is A Recipe to Extraordinary Success, A Guide for Achievers. It is available on Amazon.com,
Okay.
BarnesandNoble.com, as well as my publisher's site, which is TatePublishing.com.
Okay.
So it is available. It's not available in stores at Barnes & Noble, but it is available online.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, as well as Amazon.
On Kindle as well, and
Kindle, on Nook.
Okay,
Yes, it is on
excellent.
there, yes.
I mean, it's important to be able to get the book out there and let at least viewers know where they could actually purchase it. But when it comes to reviews, have you contacted bloggers? Have you done anything regarding the marketing, or Tate Publishing took care of all that?
It's interesting you asked me that question. One of my struggles right now is getting people to do reviews.
Okay.
I get a lot of people who tell me the book was great, it's changing my life, and I tell people, okay, well, I know it's probably changing your life. You know the book is good, but I need others to go online and do reviews. As of yet, I don't have any reviews. People normally tell me all the time in person, and it's great to get that information.
Good feeling, yes.
But as I mentioned earlier, I want to reach a masses. So when people read a book, I want them to be able to go online and do the review. Marketing wise, I'm doing the marketing myself. My publishing company is doing it as well. But as you mentioned something earlier, writing is just the first step. Now marketing it and getting it out there to the world. So a lot of the marketing, I would say right now, I'm doing the majority of the marketing.
Okay, I see. Now, based on your recommendation as an author, and I know that this journey to the beginning, the first word that you typed on the screen of the computer versus the last part when you wrote the end, how did you feel being an author? How did you feel? I mean, this is what's really supposed to get people out there to know that authors are human beings just like you and me. And we all have dreams. We all want to be on the New York, bestseller list.
Exactly.
And but that should not be the sole reason why you need to write a book. And people think that they could become Stephen King after the first book, which is not the case.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need to write 20 or 30 books before you get to that level. So what inspired you to be able to say, you know what, even if it doesn't get to the New York bestseller list, I'm still going to write because I love it, because it's my passion, because it's my drive. What was yours in this case?
For me, it's first and foremost that day when I finally completed the final chapter, the final wording. It felt like I birthed something. I'm not a mother, so I wouldn't really know what it feels like to birth a child, but I've heard people show that expression. So for me, that's what it felt like. I've truly birthed something. This is something personally that I brought to life with my own thoughts, and now it's here. It's in my hands.
It's
so
alive.
It was, yes, exactly. So it was a great feeling. And yes, I am working for it to become a bestseller. But even if it doesn't make it to that point, nevertheless, I went away from the things that most people probably won't do, taking that first step. And to me, this is my first step to other books that I want to write. So whether this one makes it to best-selling list or not, I'm still going to continue writing because that passion is in me. So this is just the beginning. That's how I would look at it. I won't look at it as a failure. And who knows, as you said, it may be the 7th, the 10th book that I may truly make it to that best-selling list. But for now, I'm definitely praying and hoping that this will definitely make it to the bestseller list. But if it never does, I will still continue to write because it's my passion.
Well, just like you, I'm on my 7th book. And for me, it's just like, for me, it's just not necessarily the desire, because even though desire is there to be a New York bestseller, but for me, I just love to express myself in writing. And that's what really drives me to write the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And then probably the 7th book is a first book of series. So probably I'm going to go for another 10 books. Who knows? But ideally, what you and I share in common is that we have that passion for writing.
Right.
We know that this is what we want to be able to share to the general public. Even though a lot of people fear that, well, if I write something as you shared with us, if I write something that people don't like, how am I going to be perceived? Well, who cares how you're being perceived? You see, it's about yourself, and it's for what you want to do. So this is basically the message that we're trying to convey here, is to allow people to know, you know what, if you want to do something, if you want to go and reach your dream, because these are your dreams, Zainabu. This is not anyone else's. And this is where how you and I are so much in sync when it comes to writing. And like any authors out there, they would definitely do the same. So I thank you so much for coming over today and sharing your passion, sharing your drive, your determination to be able to write and share your knowledge with the general public. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for attending this wonderful show. And I hope that our message inspired you the same way that inspired us to be able to write books as well. Thank you very much for being here today, and wish you a happy new journey.